I had a conversation recently that really made me think. Someone came to me, a successful and accomplished person, and said, "I've built everything I set out to build. I'm exactly where I wanted to be. So why does everyone keep asking me when I'm going to find someone? Why does it feel like my life doesn't count until I do?" In that moment, I wanted to say something that most people never say out loud. What if they're wrong? What if, for some people, the most powerful choice is to stay single? Not because you're broken, and not because you're scared of love, but because you understand something most people have been carefully taught not to see. There's a pattern in history that almost nobody talks about. Many of the people who changed the world, who created things that outlived empires, who pushed human knowledge and art to new levels, walked alone. They didn't end up single by accident. They chose it on purpose. The real question isn't, why did they stay single? The real question is, why have we been trained to believe that this path is less, that it's incomplete? From childhood, we are told a story. Grow up, find a partner, get married, have kids, then you are complete. But once you understand what solitude actually gives you, what it unlocks inside you, you start to see that the real trap isn't being alone. The real trap is believing your life only counts if someone else is standing next to you. There's an old story from ancient Greece that explains this very simply. Alexander the Great, the ruler who conquered huge parts of the world, went to visit a philosopher named Diogenes. Diogenes lived in a barrel. He owned almost nothing. He depended on no one. Alexander stood over him and said, "I am Alexander the Great. Ask me for anything and I will give it to you." Diogenes looked up and calmly said, "Yes. Move a little to the side. You're blocking my sunlight." Later, Alexander reportedly said, "If I were not Alexander, I would want to be Diogenes." Think about that. The most powerful man in the world envied a man with no possessions, no status, no partner, and no obligations. Why? Because Diogenes had full control over himself. His time was his own. His thoughts were his own. He did not need to please anyone. Alexander had palaces, soldiers, politics, and constant responsibilities. His days were full of meetings, conflicts, and expectations. He was trapped inside the huge life he had built. Diogenes went back to his barrel, to his sunlight, to his peace. The world says Alexander won because he conquered nations, just like the world tells you you're winning when you follow the standard relationship path. But they almost never ask the most important question. Who was actually free? This pattern shows up again and again. Many great creators and thinkers stayed single. People like Nietzsche, Schopenhauer, Tesla, Emily Dickinson, and many others. People look at them and say, they were strange, lonely, damaged. They just couldn't handle relationships. But what if that's backwards? What if they knew something? What if they understood that to do what they were meant to do, they needed something more important than constant companionship? They needed full, undivided attention for their own growth and their own work. The world teaches you that wanting solitude is selfish, that putting your growth first is wrong, that the highest good is to give half of yourself away to another person. But ask yourself, is it really selfish to refuse to water down your potential? Is it selfish to say, I have something to create that needs all of me? Is it selfish to choose the path that makes you most fully yourself, even if it doesn't come with a +1? A philosopher named Nietzsche had an idea called eternal recurrence. Imagine you had to live your exact life again and again forever, with every choice and every moment repeating. Would you be happy to say yes to that? Most people wouldn't, because deep down they know they are living someone else's script. Go to school, get a job, get married, have kids, retire, die. Maybe, if there's time, they squeeze in a few things that are really theirs. Nietzsche's challenge was this: Build a life that you would gladly live again and again, because it is truly your own. You can't do that if you are always following society's path, or if you're living only for your partner's needs, or shrinking your dreams for comfort. That doesn't mean love is bad. It means the wrong kind of love can make you smaller, more tamed, safer on the outside, but less alive on the inside. Some people, like the philosopher Schopenhauer, guarded their solitude very carefully. He lived alone most of his life. Mornings were for writing, afternoons for walking, evenings for thinking. No spouse to consult, no children to raise, no daily emotional drama at home. People called him bitter and antisocial, but if you read his work, you see focus, depth, and clarity, not weakness. He once wrote that a person can truly be themselves only when they are alone, and that if you don't love solitude, you don't really love freedom, because you are only truly free when you are alone. When you are truly alone, not lonely and empty, but calm and complete, you are free to think any thought, follow any idea, explore any interest. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to compromise. Your life becomes your own experiment, not a constant meeting in which you are always adjusting to someone else. The Stoic philosophers also understood this. They taught that the only thing you truly control is your own mind. Everything else, other people, events, the future, is outside your control. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor, had power, family, and a whole empire to manage. In his private writings, he kept reminding himself that real peace comes from inside, not from people or status. Imagine how much energy he spent dealing with the needs, moods, and expectations of others. Now imagine if even half of that energy had been free for his own inner growth and philosophy. In any relationship, a huge amount of your attention goes into managing another person's feelings. This isn't bad, but it is a choice. You only have so much time and energy in this life. Where do you want it to go? Existentialist thinkers talked about something even more intense, radical freedom. They said you are completely responsible for your life, and that kind of freedom is scary. So most people hide from it. One of the easiest hiding places is a relationship. When you are with someone, you always have a reason not to follow a risky dream. I can't move. It wouldn't be fair to my partner. Or I can't start over. We've built a life here. This makes life feel safer, but it also means you no longer face your freedom fully. True, deep choices become harder because every big decision must be negotiated. You begin to adjust yourself to keep the peace. You choose what is reasonable over what calls you from inside. Writers like Emily Dickinson chose a different path. She almost never left her home and never married. People thought she was afraid of the world, but her poems show a powerful inner life. She chose depth over noise, the richness of her own mind over the busy surface of social life. She wrote that the soul chooses her own company, then shuts the door. That doesn't mean hating people. It means protecting your inner world so it can grow to its full size. The more you let everyone into your inner space, the harder it is to hear your own voice clearly. Psychologist Carl Jung talked about becoming whole. He said every person has different sides inside. Strong, gentle, logical, emotional, brave, scared. Instead of growing all these sides, people often look for a partner to carry the parts they don't want to develop. Then both people stay half-grown and depend on each other to feel complete. Staying single can force you to deal with all your sides yourself. There is no one to complete you, so you must become more complete on your own. This is hard, but powerful. You learn to handle your own emotions, thoughts, strengths, and weaknesses. You become more balanced, more solid, more real. Of course, being single is not always easy. You lose certain comforts, having someone to share daily life with, constant emotional support, the social approval that comes with being in a relationship. People may judge you or say you are missing out. But you gain something huge, yourself. fully. You gain mornings that belong only to you. You gain evenings where your thoughts are not interrupted. You gain the ability to shape your life exactly the way you feel called to, without watering it down. You can wake up and ask, what do I want to build? Who do I want to become? And then follow that fully, without silently adding the question, will my partner be okay with it? This path is not for everyone, and that is okay. Many people honestly prefer partnership, shared responsibility, and a more traditional life. There is nothing wrong with that, but if you are someone who feels different, someone who feels crowded by the usual script, someone who feels a deep pull toward a larger, more focused life that is truly your own, then staying single might not be a failure at all. It might be your true path. The loneliness you fear might actually be peace. The emptiness others warn you about might actually be open space for creation. The thing people say you are missing might be exactly what would weaken what you're meant to do. In the end, the greatest love story may not be between you and another person. It may be between you and your own life, the life you are brave enough to live on your own terms. You are not half a person waiting for someone to complete you. You are already a whole human being. You are the creator and the creation, the writer and the story. You don't need anyone's permission to live as if that's true. So if staying single feels like alignment, like freedom, like truth, you are allowed to choose it proudly, not as a backup plan, not as a second choice, but as your main path, as the grand prize.